Welcome, First Live. Thank you, everybody who is joining us. And if you're watching the replay, make sure to just say hi in the comments down below. But we're going to have a really good conversation tonight and a really great interview. I think it's going to be a really important one to just share this perspective. Before we get into all of that, though, I do want to share with you guys something that is just very near and dear to my heart. My best friend got some really, really bad news the other day about her 18-month-old daughter. She actually she was just diagnosed with liver cancer. And we have a fundraiser going for her. And I'm just trying to spread the word. And if people want to help contribute and help support them, they're doing long trips to the hospital back and forth, and I just want to help get them that support that they need. So people have been really, really amazing so far through that. We've raised a good amount of money, but this is Madeline. And it's a really rough situation. So if you would like to go and help support this family, they could certainly use it. And if you can't donate, if you could share the GoFundMe, or just send good thoughts, prayers, whatever it is you do, because they could certainly need them right now. She's a really beautiful, really smart little girl, and we want to help any way we can. So, but let's get into the topic for tonight. I'm going to be introducing Kat. She is a resident of East Palestine, Ohio, and was present during the train derailment, and that's what we're going to be chatting about tonight. Hey, Kat. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And then for those of you who don't know, kind of my right-hand man, he handles a lot of my tech stuff, and has been a really great friend throughout my time here on social media. His channel is Voice of the People, and let's say hello to Drunken Senpai.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight? This is going to be a real good conversation. A lot of the things that we know about East Palestine have only come from mostly creators, things like that. The media has been silent about it until there was such a big uproar, and we're really going to get some real good information coming out of this, and some firsthand accounts of what's really going on here. So I'm ready to get into it if y'all are.
Definitely.
All right, so Kat, tell us a little bit about yourself before we begin.
I am a transplant. I have been here for about 8 years only. So I'm not one of the born and bred East Palestinians like some of them are, but in our, my 3 kids, one of them is still in high school here, and the other 2 graduated from here. I own a crystal shop in town. It's not very interesting, but we've kind of built a life here, so it's nothing that great exciting about me, but just a
you are a small business owner, aren't you?
I am, yes. Yeah, small.
Okay. And what do you
little
do with the
crystal
business?
shop. It's just a crystal shop, yeah. Crystals and jewelry, stuff like that.
For everybody listening out there, she was on a small name podcast with Flagrant Triggers, Flagrant and Crash Mondo. I happened upon the stream, and Kat was sitting there talking, and they have a smaller channel, even smaller than I do. They just started up, and I was just like, you know what, this information needs to get out there, and we need to hear more of this. So I reached out to Crash and Flagrant, and I was like, hey, can you please give me Kat's information? Let's get this out here. I was talking to Ashely. Hold on one second. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather from being out of town and working in a freezer. But yeah, I reached out to them, and I was just like, we got to get this information out there. And yeah, reached out to Ashely. I was like, look, this would be a great live for you to do. Your first live on your channel. We were supposed to do this yesterday, but Ashely forgot to start the 24-hour wait on her channel.
Look, okay, this is I'm not the best with technology, and I'm not the best with lives, especially, which is also why I'm gonna stutter a lot. So sorry, guys, you just have to deal with it.
Fine.
But
We'll
it's
get
also
you used to it.
I've even gotten in front of the camera. I've been really busy, so. But yeah, Kat, if you could kind of just go through your experience with all of this and kind of, you know, just what you went through upon this big massive event occurring right in your town.
Sure. Okay, so I do live in the evacuation zone, right? So I was in my office here in this room. I was playing Xbox, just relaxing after a day of work. And I heard a really loud booming, right? It shook my window. It's a brick townhouse, so it was just basically the window. And I was like, wow, that really, we get a lot of semis through here, right? That we probably shouldn't, but we do get a lot of semis through here. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if there was like a big semi accident or something like that. And I was like, what in the world? So you could kind of tell that it was like from this part of town, right? So like down this way. And one of my really close girlfriends lives in that area. So I messaged her and I was like, did you hear like a really big boom? And she was like, yes, it shook my house. And I was like, oh, good grief. Okay, so it's something. So I sent my husband. I was like, there's something going on, like something big happened. I was like, can you like walk down the road here? And because we kind of live on like the main Taggart, which is the road that it happened on. We live basically on that road. So I said, can you like just walk out and see if you see anything or can hear anything or figure out, what's going on? And he kind of saw something off in the distance when he walked down to the end of the road, and he was like, I'm gonna get in the car and see what's going on. So him and my son get in the car and they actually took a video. And I believe other than like videos of the actual crash that were like on Ring cameras, I believe it's the first video of the derailment, because it was before any EMS, any fire trucks. In the video, you can actually see the first fire truck starting to go past, but you could just see the derailment. And I messaged my friend. I was like, holy crap, like the train derailed and it's on fire. And she's freaking out because she lives right on the rail tracks. It's like the railroad is like right on the end of her road. And she was like, oh my gosh. So she runs out of her house and she can see the fire. And really that was the first like indicator that there was anything going on, right? And then we started hearing the sirens and all of the fire department and everything. We actually live kind of behind the fire department too. So you hear them start to roll out and things going crazy. And we still didn't really think too much of it, because like you don't really think like Chernobyl 2.0, like they're calling it right now, you know what I mean? Like that's not the first thing in your mind, right? You're just thinking, oh my gosh, like this is terrible. Kind of turned to my husband. I was like, well, we're going to be on the news tomorrow, kind of thing. Little did we know, but so of course him and his best friend, who's one of our neighbors, they start doing the neighborhood watch thing. Like they're standing at the end of the road, kind of like watching what's going on and watching all of these different fire trucks go. And it just speedballs from there. I mean, one thing after another, like the flames start getting crazier. And when I could see the flames, because it was, we were starting to get a little bit of like what's going on, right? Because my friend who lives, right there on it, she's messaging me and she was like, it's right here, it leaks. So when you think there's a train on fire right next to a gas station, generally speaking, that's bad. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things out there in that gas station. So we're like, oh boy, like this could be a problem. And then my husband starts getting like the the nervous dad thing going, right? Where they start pacing and they're on their phones and they're walking back and forth and they're like, this is kind of big. This is becoming a big thing. And I'm still like, oh, it's just a fire, you know, they'll get it under control. By that time, we were seeing fire trucks from several counties already. And I was like, okay, this was kind of a bigger deal. And then my husband he was like, you need to come outside. You need to come outside and see what's going on. And I was like, okay. So we walk outside and we knew where the derailment had happened. And I knew how far that was away from my house. And you could see the flames. There's one building that's kind of like at the end of our street. And it's like a 2-story building. And above that, you could see flames. I know it seems more dramatic when you're like witnessing, but I swear it looked like they were like 30 feet in the sky. And I was like, okay, we might be in trouble. That was the first time I was like, ooh, this could be a really, really bad thing, because it just kept getting bigger and we did not know what was going on. We were like, why are the flames so big? It was just like a derailment. So we thought that either the gas station had blown, or there are some buildings there. There's like Ram Fab, which is like a fabricating building. Different thing. I said, some of these buildings must be starting to get on fire. But I still hadn't hit like that panic mode yet, right? We were like, this is, because in your mind you're thinking fire, right? Because that's what you're seeing. That's what's going on. You're thinking fire. And so I was like, there's no way with all of these fire trucks coming and everything like that the fire will get anywhere close to us, right? It just looks scary. There was no mention or any indication of toxins, no chemicals, no anything like that. So that was not what any of us were worried about. And even though you could start to smell things, it just smelled like kind of like burning tires and stuff. So, you know, a train's on fire, of course, is going to stink, right? So you're not really thinking like we're in danger, you know?
Right.
And so this lasted for about, I want to say about a half an hour or so, until we started getting notice from my friends that live closer to the railway. They were getting evacuated. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, they're close to the fire, you know, they probably want people because of smoke, right? No big deal. Like they're just wanting them to be safe. And then around that time, my husband starts going, okay, we should pack like just a few things just to be safe, like, you know, computers and iPads, just to be, you know, just little things just in case we have to leave for like a couple hours or so while they do their thing. And I'm like, we're not gonna have to go anywhere, like it's so far away, we don't have to worry about that, like whatever. And so I still wasn't, you know, like I was like, you're just being paranoid, it's fine. Well, then my friends kept going closer and closer. We're being evacuated. They're messaging me. We're being evacuated. I'm freaking out. What do we do? What do we do? And finally, a bunch of things kind of happened simultaneously. The flames kept getting bigger and it looked like they were coming closer. And I was like, ooh, not good. And then the juncture right next to us, so like kind of half a block away, that side street, we had friends that lived on that and they were evacuated. And I was like, okay, this seems a little more serious than we were anticipating. By that time, we had woken all the neighbors up that live in our townhomes. You know, there's 7 of them here in this block. And I was like trying to get everybody ready just in case we did get evacuated. So they got notice that they were evacuated. I was like, okay, we're probably going to end up getting evacuated. And almost simultaneously, we got like an all call, which is like what the high school uses, right? So it's like this, it came from the school number. And it's just like, you know, to let you know where to pick up prom pics or something, you know what I mean? Like just school information. And it was the superintendent going, everyone within a mile, if you're getting this call, you need to evacuate immediately. And we also got a text message from like the automated like emergency system saying, if you're getting this text message, get out of Dodge, right? So we're like, where do we even go? What do we do? That night,
what was sorry to interrupt you, but what was kind of
No,
going through your mind when you realized kind of the gravity of the situation here?
right. So still we were not concerned. I wasn't concerned in any way. I assumed that they were evacuating us either for so we weren't in the roads for the emergency vehicles, because most of them had to come through our street to cross the bridge to get to where the crash was, because like there's only a couple ways across the railroad, and all of them that were coming from like the other side of town, you know, like down south, anyone that was coming from the south and anyone that was coming from PA had to come right through our street and cross down the main road, cross the railroad tracks to get to the crash. So we were like, maybe they're just evacuating, and then to be doubly safe on in case the fire gets out of control, because by this time you could tell that it was an enormous fire. The whole sky, and this is at night, this is like 10 o'clock at night, the whole sky was orange. And so you could, I mean, it looked like what you see on TV with like the wildfires, the out of control wildfires, you know, that are like in California and stuff, where you just see the whole sky just be orange. That's what it looked like. And I was like, I'm still not that worried, but I'm sure they're doing it out of abundance of caution. So I still wasn't freaking out. I was just mostly inconvenienced that I had to leave the house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because you're not thinking about those things, right? You're just thinking about like, because things like that don't happen, right? You know, like big, scary, awful things. So, so that's kind of here, and all of my friends live in the zone, right? So we couldn't go to any of my friends' house, but we did have my neighbor's parents lived next to the high school, which is about a mile outside of the zone. And so we went there for the night, and we're all just sitting there like, what the heck? What the heck is going on? Watching the news all night. Like, we sat there like this all night, just jammed into this little couch. There's like 12 of us in the living room just sitting there going, what is going on? And we watched the news all night long. We didn't really hear a lot. Most of what we heard was from the emergency, like police scanners, right? So like some of our friends had police scanners, and there's actually an app that you can get on your phone. Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're sitting there scrolling Facebook, going through all of our different friends pages and stuff, seeing like who's where, what's going on there, you know, blah blah blah, and listening to police scanners all night. And that was the first night, right? Like we were only still thinking fire. There was no chemical danger. There was no toxicity in the air kind of situation. There was nothing like that. Nothing. They were having like these little press conferences. I don't know if you've seen them on the news or anything like that, with like our fire chief and our mayor, who's like a part-time mayor, by the way. Like, this is so out of his purview. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like so far out of his purview. And then our like grouchy fire chief, which God love him, you know what I mean? Like, bless them for everything that they did, but he does not do press conferences well. He's so no nonsense that, and so, you know, we were only getting that as information. So like the news was running these live little press conferences. That's just our fire chief and our mayor, right?
Well,
No
with
one
a
else.
town of like 5,000 people, I can kind of understand that. Even the town I grew up in was like 8,000. So yeah, it can get a little bit of a sticky situation when you have a fire department who's not able to handle any of this. They don't know what to do. A
Right.
part-time mayor, as you're talking about, who's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
all of this is thrown on him. So I can understand the WTF moment. I'm trying to be nice because we're on Ashely's channel.
Very much. It's very much so. Like they don't know what they're doing. Which, you know, who would? Right. You know what I mean? Like, small town mayor this is not what you're built for, right? Like, we're not New York City. This is not you know, and we're not on
Yeah.
like Tornado Alley or something. So this is, emergencies are, you know, someone's dog got loose and now we need to find him and take him to the police station. You know, that's as serious as it gets around here.
Wish
So
I
this
had
is just
that.
completely right. This is just completely outside of the realm of like of anything. So 6 o'clock they had another press conference here at the municipal building, and it said the fire is like stable. Like they didn't say it was under control, but they said the fire is stable. It's not spreading anymore. We think we have it in hand. So we took that as like, okay, let's go home. It's not spreading anymore. Still no chemical nonsense or anything like that. That's
So how long after the derailment is this, like, that they still haven't
okay,
told
so
you about
right.
the apparent danger?
That still was another day before that. So right now in the timeline, it derailed at 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock at night on Friday, and this is 6 a.m. Saturday morning.
Okay.
So we leave our friend's house about a mile away and come back home, because still what we've been told is that it was a fire danger and the fire danger is over. So now we want to be home. Obviously, you're not going to want to sit on someone's couch for longer than you need to, right? You want to be home in bed because you just haven't slept all day now. So we come back home. Me, my older daughter, she rents a townhome 2 down from me, right? And then my son, my 16-year-old son, my husband, so we all come home. And it was one of the most horrible smells that I've ever smelled. There's really nothing I have smelled to describe what it was like. I think the closest thing that I could have maybe smelled is like a car wholly on fire, right? So you've got the burnt rubber, that burnt metal, gas, just chemicals, right? Like it just smells toxic. But again, no one told us that there was any danger. No one told us anything. The fire is starting to become in control. So no concern, right? We're just like, it's just going to smell for a while. We're just going to have to air it out. It's no big deal. And we pass out. It's just, we're like, till the next day, we're done. I think we got up a little bit on Saturday, but we were like wiped out just from the stress. And honestly, also knowing now what we were breathing in, I'm sure that the chemical stew that we were breathing in was also, because they say a lot of the chemicals make you really lethargic and sedated and stuff like that. So I imagine a lot of that was what we were experiencing also, just unbeknownst to ourselves, you know.
Well, I can say that, you know, like I said beforehand, I used to be a hazmat first responder for Sanford.
Right.
And I made the inks and that go in pens and markers and things. And
right.
yeah, going through everything, I have noticed a lot of dangerous things. And I'm gonna pop this up a little bit here. Let's just bring it this way. That would look better. This comes from Axios. What risk the chemicals may pose to humans? Acute exposure to high levels of vinyl chloride, a classified human carcinogen, in the air has been linked to central nervous system effects, while chronic exposure has been shown to cause liver damage, because the liver is what actually filters the toxins out of your blood, including a rare form of liver cancer, according to the EPA. When vinyl chloride burns, it decomposes into hydrogen chloride and phosgene, according to the International Program of Chemical Safety. Phosgene is highly poisonous and was used extensively during World War I as a choking agent, while hydrogen chloride, or hydrochloric acid, is irritating and corrosive to any tissue in which it comes in contact with. Now, before we go any further, I do want to say burning this was actually the standard for it. Okay, now the fact that there was so much there does pose a huge risk, but burning it does break it down and allow it to dissipate a lot faster than letting it normally dissipate, because you are creating more hydrogen chloride in the atmosphere if you let it normally dissipate. However, the problem is that even through, and I don't have it brought up here, but even through the the safety data sheet on vinyl chloride, it does say that you have to keep these containers full or cool as you are burning this, because it creates what's known as an incomplete burn, which was the
Mhm.
black smoke that everybody saw. They weren't
Yeah.
keeping it cool, so they were pumping more toxins into the atmosphere than was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
That's where the black cloud comes from with
Yeah.
that. But go ahead.
Um, so anyway, this is now Saturday. And like I said, I don't remember Saturday. I don't remember what we did at all, which is I don't know if it was like a stress response or if it was just, just being in this chemical stew. I don't know. So we go to sleep again. Don't remember, but obviously. But Sunday morning, we wake up when there's this huge pounding at the door. And you know how you can tell that there's like different kinds of knocks, right? There's like the neighbor looking for a cup of milk or whatever. And then there's
Right.
like a very urgent, we're going to come in your
Pounding.
house if you don't open the door kind of pounding, right? So it was definitely the latter.
Like a police raid.
Exactly. It was like movie style pounding on the door, right? My dog's freaking out. He's going crazy, and I'm like, what in the heck? And there was no one there when my husband went and looked. But we saw on our cameras that there had been a police officer there. He kind of walks around and sees that he's like there at our intersection, right? And he goes over and is talking to him, and he's like, were you knocking on our door? And he was like, yeah, I just need a head count. Just need a head count of the people that are here. Why? Okay, there's 3 of us in here. Like, interesting. Why?
Yeah.
No idea. No idea what's going on. He did not have any information of what's going on at all. It was just, getting a head count. And so the rest of that morning was the biggest cluster I've ever experienced. At this point, there is I do not remember what time, because like I said, I was probably pretty toxified as to the time, but we did see another press conference, and all they said was vinyl chloride and some other chemicals. So we were not given names of anything else. The only thing they kept repeating was vinyl chloride. And we're like, oh boy, this is not good. Like, we don't know. And at that time, they weren't telling us that it was in the air. They were like, you're safe, but there's vinyl chloride around, and this is like not good. And so we're like, okay, why is this cop like banging on doors? What is going on? We start seeing on social media, there's people going, immediate evacuation, get out now, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, what the heck are they talking about? Like, I thought everything was fine. It's chaos. It is absolute chaos. It's like playing a game of telephone with 4,500 people. And there was no actual like official answer, right? There was no sort of official page saying, okay, yes, you need to do this or whatever. They just kept saying, like, for information, call 211, which is like the non-emergency line here.
Mm-hmm.
What 211 did was gave us like another game of telephone to play. I would call, I would get one answer. My neighbor would call, and we're all on speakerphone. We're all standing together, right? We're just calling from different phones, getting a completely different answer, depending on who answered the phone. So we still have no answers. Some people are saying they've they've expanded the evacuation. It's a mandatory evacuation now. It's not a shelter in place. It's a get out of town kind of thing. And we're like, why? What's going on? They're saying there's not vinyl chloride, but there is vinyl chloride. Whatever. We don't know what's going on.
So you're just getting all kinds of mixed messages, all kinds of
nothing.
different. There's no official word. There's no official warning. Like, hey, get out right now.
Correct.
Everybody needs to leave because of.
They're like not the fire department, not like the city page. Nothing. There was absolutely no official. This is what's going on. This is what you need to do. Nothing. So finally. One of our friends who also lives in the zone, his grandmother, who used to be kind of a very big prominent person in town, she still is, but she knows all the cops by their grandmas, you know what I mean? Like that she's very deep into what's going on. She talked to the cops and I guess got a real answer of what was going on, that it was a mandatory evacuation. Do not stay home. It is not safe. Like there's stuff in the air. We need to get out of here. So we pack up. They're like, pack for 3 days is what they told us. Be prepared for 3 days. So we grab everything that we can, just, like little go bags, because at this point we're freaking out because like now we're hearing that there's something really dangerous excuse me, in the air. So we end up going to the Red Cross station. Sorry.
You're good.
So so we spend the day at the Red Cross station, and it's kind of like the landing point for all of the local news crews, right? So we're just talking to news people all day, hanging out with the kids. Like I know everybody that's there, because it's small town. It's in my kids' high school. I know everyone that's in there. So we just kind of tried to make the best of it, right? So it's like summer camp for the kids, right? Like we're on cots, we're hanging out, we're playing with coloring books that they had for the kids. I mean, just playing games, tabletop games and stuff like that. Like just trying to pretend that what's happening isn't happening. We're just going to treat it like a normal day. So
and
again,
I do want to pause here for a second real quick. I want to give everybody a kind of a rundown. While I was going through everything, I did find a lot of information for this. These are all the cars that were affected by this. Of course, car 23 was the one that actually had the axle problem. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars that had vinyl chloride in it. And it had a total of, I think it was reported, of 115,580 gallons of vinyl chloride. There was one ethylene glycol monobutyl ether. Of course, the ones that are in green are the ones that are actually highly toxic. One ethyl hexyl acrylate, one isobutylene, one butyl acrylate, and 2 benzene. As far as that goes, from what I can understand about the whole situation, is I think it was, what was it, car or train? It was either 30 or 31 that started to show that it was starting to overheat due to polymerization. That's a form of almost turning into a plastic. Okay, it's an incomplete polymerization, and during that process, it does heat up, which of course causes the vaporization of the vinyl chloride that starts to vaporize at 7.9 degrees, building up pressure within these tankers. So yes, they had to relieve the pressure, and of course that means puncturing the tanks, and to burn it away to not expose so much of the dangerous fumes into the atmosphere, which also caused the other cars to start heating up as well because they did not keep the tankers cool. So they had to do that for everything else. So yeah, it was just a cascade event that actually just caused a very bad situation from happening. And it's just the amount that came through. I feel like they could have actually rearranged the train a little better so these dangerous chemicals weren't so close together on the makeup of the train.
From what I
feel like
understand,
that was an issue.
that's standard to keep them separate. So they were
Right.
from what we've heard, there were a few train cars that were mislabeled because that was one of the things that like that was why we got like 3 chemicals after the fact. So it was like after they released the manifest, it was like 3 or 4 days later that they added more chemicals to the list, which from my understanding, train manifests are pretty supposed to be like what's on the train, right? So those are things that people are supposed to already have and know, whether it's the conductor or the people on, that are actually like train switching and stuff like that. I feel like those are the things that's pretty important, like of what you're hauling. I think semi drivers usually know what they're hauling, right? Like that's kind of a thing. So for them to just keep adding things on after the fact too, of like, hey, guess what? We also got these in the mix too. It just seems really, we're definitely not getting a straight story.
Yeah, it's concerning because they know exactly what they know exactly what all those trains are carrying. They know exactly the quantities. They have logs for all of that. And if they didn't, then somebody's breaking some big laws somewhere. So
right.
To just continuously like, oh, here's some more that we just discovered. Like, no, you knew about them.
Yeah, that feels like they should have known, right? And there was, because the only thing that we had heard any sort of word on was vinyl chloride. Everything else came after the evacuation was lifted by days. So we didn't even know what we were wading back into until after, they had decided that it was safe.
Well, I can honestly say that, knowing that vinyl chloride was in there, that is the worst of the chemicals, especially because it does have such a wide range of being explosive. The chemical makeup of it is, as far as for everybody out there, think of the air inside the room you're in right now. Okay. For this to become an explosive situation, it needs to be 3.8% of the air in your house right now mixed with this vinyl chloride, and it doesn't stop being explosive until it's 39.8 or 38.9%. So there's a huge range of explosion. In either case, within minutes you're going to pass out, and pretty much pass away. But yeah, it's the biggest range for an explosion to happen with this chemical. And yeah, I can understand, going through the safety data sheet on multiple videos that I've done. I can understand why they were so just concerned with that one itself. The benzene is more of a problem. That's a pesticide situation, but it doesn't. It's not as an explosive risk, and it doesn't boil away as quickly as the vinyl chloride does. Like I said, 7.9 degrees. The outside temperature that day was 10 degrees. It's already starting to boil away once the refrigeration on the tank was damaged.
Yeah. All
right. So can you kind of start taking us through like, so sorry. There's just so much information about chemicals. So I'm trying to get back on track. And that was like a wonderful breakdown. No, it was a wonderful breakdown that was very needed. And I would have never that's a lot of big words. So
you learn so much more than you need to, right? Like it's just,
well, no,
I didn't even know these things existed.
Yeah, well, I'm just kind of also, wondering about like the after effects and kind of like, so you guys are being told like, get out now, like there's, there's hazardous chemicals in the air. And then like, what is the impact of all of this on not only like your community, but like, the wildlife, the land, agricultural stuff, like what has kind of been the outcome of all of this?
So the immediate outcome, obviously, the first thing that everyone noticed was the fish, right? So like the creeks are dead. And normally that is teeming with life, right? Like it's a little creek, but there's tons of fish and frogs and salamanders and stuff like that in there. Everything was dead. There was not one single sign of life that anyone could find in those creeks after the evacuation was lifted. Um, and now the problem is so like I was telling on the other podcast, like I have a little family of raccoons because we live like on the creek, right? So I have this little family of raccoons that comes on my my bat camera, and I watch them. I've watched them ever since we moved here with their hijinks with the stray cat. We have a pretty bad stray cat population. We try not to, but it's inevitable, right? So we had probably 10 to 12 stray cats and then this family of raccoons. They're all gone. There are 2 cats left, and both of them are exhibiting severe neurologic problems, like they walk like they're drunk, very lethargic, like they're just constantly sleeping. I imagine it comes from either like drinking from the creek, which I assume would be their water source back there. Or some people have suggested like maybe they ate some of the fish that were back there, you know, because they like wash up. And I don't know, you know, what the situation, but we do know because we've like seen the bodies of things, right? There were a lot of dead birds around. That the birds have started to come back now, but initially there were dead birds like all over. People's chickens in their yards were dying. There's a fox rescue here. 2 of her foxes have died now, and they've done the like postmortem checks for them. And the first one, if I'm remembering correctly, was just literally the lungs were completely full of fluid, which kind of indicates that vinyl chloride or phosgene gas exposure. And another one has passed away, and I don't think I've seen the results of that second postmortem, but one of the neighbor's 10-month-old cats have passed away. And that one has been sent off for postmortem. Initial indicators show poisoning from it. So it's continuous, you know, it's not just like the initial exposure happened and then everything's fine now. We are, as a town, sick. We're sick.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Everyone is very sick. It's I was diagnosed with chemical bronchitis, and that is less fun than it could be. You know, I'm finally starting to get over it, but then yesterday it started getting bad again. I thought I was like in the clear, hurrah, and then our basement actually leaks from the creek, and we noticed
that's a bad sign.
That's a really bad thing, right? So we do have toxicologists coming. We've collected the water the way that they told us to and everything, but you could see like the oily sheen on the water. And everyone was
Hold
sick.
on. I do want to address that. You know, we talked about that a little bit beforehand. You know, I kind of broke this down as well, looking at everything. You know, you see those videos of people, you know, JD Vance scraped the creek bed, the chemicals came up. There was a video of a woman throwing a rock in the river, the chemicals came up.
Yeah.
I don't think, of course, that's not the vinyl chloride. That burns, or that boils away at 7.9 degrees. You know, with that amount there, they burnt it away before it could really do anything. That's why the aerial wildlife is dying. You know, things that live in the trees, things like that. That's why those are dying. However, the fish problem, I think it's this butyl acrylates. Of course,
Right.
I don't have any of the testing. I'm not involved with that. But the butyl acrylate that was there. In this, it says head breach, lost entire load to spill and fire. Okay. That means there was a puncture within the head part. You know, they're like almost like pill form kind of situations. In the head end, which is the front part of that, there was an actual puncture to the tank, and most of it spilled out onto the ground. Now, with butyl acrylate, where is it? It does not. Here we go. Flammability boiling point is 297 degrees. So it's got to be 297 degrees before this stuff even actually starts to vaporize. It is a very stable compound. It can stay around for a good long time. It is a lot denser than water is, so it will stay on the bottom of water, and it is insoluble to water, so it's not going to mix into anything at all. I do believe that the butyl acrylate that was on, what car was it? Car 50. I do believe that is what is in the water. I do believe that is actually what killed the fish, because this is highly toxic to fish.
Yeah.
As it states, harmful to aquatic life with long-lasting effects. I believe that's what's in there. And if, the toxicology report comes back and they don't even mention this, I'm going to call BS on it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this whole car was pretty much lost before it was even set on fire.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it was on fire for at least 20 miles. That's just the first time that it was caught on camera, was 20 miles away. Right. And there were 911 calls from that point on, all through. So 20 miles of it being on fire, doing whatever, I don't know. We've seen other videos too that have been silenced. Me personally, I've seen other videos that NTSB has said, you are not to share this. You are not to give this to anyone. If we do, we will sue you, kind of thing. Right. So when you hear things like that, it doesn't make you feel good about what they're telling you of what really happened. So,
and from what I can gather with that, me and Crash went over everything on Sunday as far as their preliminary report. What I can gather from that is they have these hot bearing detectors. From the site about 30, 40 miles out was the first register of 48 degrees above ambient temperature. Of course, their critical point, well, not critical, but their alert point is 115 degrees.
Right.
10 miles after that 48 degree mark, it registered 113. Now, with that big jump within that 10-mile period, if I was one of these workers, if I was looking at that, I would have already stopped, because there's
an issue, right? There's a problem that's clearly happening for it to
one
jump
that
that
was
much.
the one that was on fire, the one that we saw was already at 263 degrees. That was the next register. That's when they tried to stop the train. And by that point, the axle was already done. It was already, everything was done and over with. There was no solving this issue.
Yeah, from what I understand, the third register is right here in town. From what I've read, that there's 3 between when it was noticed to be on fire, when it started, to here before the crash. So there's 3, but I understand that the third one is still here in town, so it didn't really do us much good.
Well, this just came out, what was it? February 26th, so that was Sunday. Okay, they were
it was like 2 days
trying
ago.
they were trying to get everything out, the water and everything, but the EPA told Norfolk Southern to temporarily stop the shipping of the toxic train derailment waste. And it's because, they were shipping this stuff out to, areas that normally do this, that normally dispose of these chemicals. However, they did not tell anybody that they were headed this way.
Right.
And nobody was aware of these chemicals passing through their areas, things like that. And it raised an alarm with people that found out about it, because, well, how many have we seen now? This has become a more frequent thing that people have picked up on, and especially, with the spill that happened in, what was it? I think it was Arizona, with the
Arizona. With
nitric
the
acid.
semi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like 4 barrels of nitric acid that poured out. So, I mean, it does create an alarm for people. So they kind of had to stop everything, and everything that was on its way had to turn around and come back.
Right.
So you guys are still in the hotbed spot for all of this.
Yes. Yes. They haven't even started digging like where the tracks are at all because the trains have not stopped. They said that is going to start like next week, I think, them actually stopping the tracks, because I believe there's two tracks there. So they're going to clean one and still let trains through while they're cleaning it, which just seems really safe. You know, real safe and sanitary. And then you know, fill that in and swap tracks to like clean it. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So you said everybody was feeling sick. What kind of symptoms are people having?
So the majority of people, it's kind of like one of those straight down the line things where like everyone's pretty much feeling the same thing. In the early days, it was our numbs were just completely numb. Like everybody's lips were numb and your face would burn. It was really weird. Your face felt like you had a really bad suntan or like a really bad sunburn. It was just like, or like you, when you open the oven, you know, to check your cake or something and that flash of heat hits you. That's what it felt like.
That sounds like the hydrogen chloride kind of situation with that.
That was
the face burn
yeah.
and everything.
So that was really common. And then rashes were really common. I've seen pictures that people have shown on our local pages of just welty, full body, horrible rashes that are just insanely intense looking, right? Like it looks like you should definitely be in the ER. You know, this is not just like I got a little poison ivy kind of situation. I mean, it looks horrid. And that's pretty common around here. Like everyone has had a rash. Like I've run into my friends and I'm like, you know, how are you doing? Like are you guys okay? And they're like, oh yeah, we got this rash going on. They'll like lift their shirt up and there's like this giant welty rash and it's like, oh, okay, that looks real normal. That's great. That seems real safe. So
that's a highly acidic acid
right
through your skin. Yes.
So we're dealing with a lot of that. And so, but those are like the minor things. Those are like the things that don't really matter. Fine. Anyone that drives through here is on our East Palestine pages. Like I drove through your town and now I can't breathe kind of thing. So those are the ones that are a little more concerning. Pretty much everyone has a sore throat all the time. Like if you're out and about town, especially if you are close to the creek now, I've heard a lot of people that are even closer to the derailment have a lot less issues than those of us that live at the creek, because the creek is constantly stirred up. Like they're constantly churning, trying to get those chemicals out and trying to, I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. There's just a ton of machinery out there, but you can see them like sucking water out and pushing it back in. You know, it's like a giant tanker of water. And that's 24/7, unending. So it's constantly an awful smell here. The few houses that they have actually deemed unlivable are all on the creek, like just on the creek. Okay. So we're working on the toxicologist to come because our basement does leak and stuff. But that seems to be where like the worst of the symptoms are. One of my friends, she lives about a half mile out from the derailment. She's hospitalized right now with chemical pneumonia. And we're finally just like literally the NTSB and the EPA, not the NTSB as much, but the EPA, the Ohio EPA and the federal EPA, they both have spokespeople here. And they're the biggest gaslighters I have ever experienced in my life, right? Because just a couple days ago, they started these 4 p.m. press conferences. And the first one, like I'm sitting there at lunch and they have this press conference and they're like, people are asking them questions like, what are you actually testing for? Because right now, all of the experts are saying that we're getting sick off these dioxins, right? And you're not testing for dioxins. They will tell you that they're not testing for dioxins. They pretend that dioxins don't exist. And so they literally sat up there, this woman, Nancy something, I forget her name. She's sitting up there and she goes, we have not had any notice of any health issues from anyone in town. And me and my friends are sitting there diagnosed, like we have our charts are on our phones, right? So you can just look them up, pull them up, and we're all just like kind of comparing what like all of our charts say. And we're sitting there going, what did she just say? Like literally, did that just come out of her mouth? Because it's unbelievable to me that they're sitting there saying that, and there's all this proof all over everywhere that is not true, even experiencing it myself. My husband's been in the hospital twice now from this. I've been in the hospital. We've had to see our doctors. And I was just kind of like in a Facebook fight today with someone. I'm starting to get really kind of like angry because people are telling us that it's all in our heads, right? And this guy goes on there and he's like, it's literally just psychosomatic. Like there's nothing wrong. You guys are just trying to get money. And I'm like, money for what? Money for my health? Like what are you even talking about? That doesn't even make sense to me. And
that is the media exposure that is given here. This is what we all fight against with all this.
Right.
And
it's just
yes,
pure
I want
gaslighting.
to address something real quick. Johnny B. Good says, I read the burning of chemicals created phosgene. That is correct, which is one of the chemicals they used in World War I and now banned by the Geneva Convention. Yes, you are correct. Taunted Taurus. No, that track is still running. As a matter of fact, at the beginning of this, I heard a train go by as we started.
Yes.
So yeah,
they were running within 8 minutes.
Almost immediate.
8 minutes. 8
Jesus.
minutes of when the evacuation was lifted. There were trains, and it was nonstop trains because they had been backed up for 3 days.
Yeah.
Nonstop. And you want to talk about like PTSD response? Everyone in town, you can be standing in the grocery line and hear the train, like horns, and everybody in line goes like this. Just
well, yeah, I'm sure it's after
it's
what just
insane.
happened and just not really being informed, not knowing what's going on. People aren't telling you, your officials aren't telling you. And it's like at a certain point, like, I live in a small town too. And that has, most small towns have railways running through them, obviously. Right. So it's like, I try to put myself kind of in these shoes too. Like, how would my town even respond to this? Like, there's going to be some scramble, being a small town. But at some point, I mean, it just seems like it took way too long. And obviously, if you're saying that, like the official word is nobody's sick. Excuse me, I'm sick right now. So, but that, I mean, that's just insane.
To be honest, the waste disposal also comes through Michigan as well there, Ashely. So
yeah, it did. I don't think it is anymore. I think we're all keeping it in Ohio. We're gonna keep it all down here, but yeah, so there's a lot. Yeah, but I think I'm one of the more fortunate people as far as like proving your health issues, because the week before I had just gone and gotten my yearly, or not my yearly, it's every 6 months, because I have like a lot of health conditions already, right? So like I have like immunocompromisation and a heart condition and stuff like that. So as part of like my workup every 6 months, I get full blood panels and I get chest x-rays, right? So I had just the week before gotten this done. So now I'm in the hospital, like with this chemical bronchitis, and you can see what physically happened to me, and my liver enzymes are just through the roof and everything, and things like that. Like you can see the impact, right? And this guy's like arguing with me online, and he's like, well, how do you know you don't have mold in your house, and that's why you're having breathing issues and stuff? And I'm like, let me tell you how I know, because a week before this I was completely healthy and I can prove it. So my doctor, when I went to see her, my normal GP, she was like, thank God this happened right when it did for you, because now we have like all of this like causation that's provable.
Yeah, you have
which
proof.
not that
especially if
it matters, but I can, know what's causing it and not, but it's
I mean,
just,
I think you're in a much better position than most people, because I mean, if you're already like having to do these and stay on top of, which it's really unfortunate, that you do have other conditions, because I'm sure this isn't helping those, but at least you're a pretty good case for keeping track of all that.
Right. So if there's a silver lining, I guess that's what it is, but it doesn't feel very shiny right now, for sure.
No, I'm sure it doesn't. I am very sorry that you guys are going through this, because I can't, I just can't imagine it. It must be so stressful all the time. What's the water situation like? Are you like I've heard a lot of things of just everything. I mean, I keep hearing that they're telling you oh, the water's fine, you can drink it. And I've heard a lot of horror stories in that sense. And so I'm just wondering, you being right there on the front lines.
So I'm on city water, right? And from what I understand, the field from where we get our water, right, is on the opposite side, a mile away. So it would be 2 miles away from the derailment north, and then, opposite direction. So it is being tested. Now it's being tested, I guess, every week, once a week. The issue I think that people are having with the water, now I'm scared of it. I almost get a panic attack every time I take a shower. I still don't trust it. You know what I mean? Because it's in your head, right? That it's not safe, because there's been so much focus on the water. But I think the issue that people are having, because I have seen a lot of people that are breaking out in rashes after taking showers and stuff. From what I can gather just from smelling it, right, is that they have added a lot more, whether it's activated charcoal or something, but a ton of chlorine to it, right? Because it smells like an actual swimming pool when it comes out. So those rashes, because they tend to be short-lived, from what I understand, they're not the ones that everyone's going and getting steroid shots in the butt for and everything, is chemical reactions from all the chlorine and stuff that they're putting in the water that maybe their bodies are sensitive to. Because I know if my son swims in a public pool, he'll get a rash from the chlorine and stuff. So so I honestly, if I was to give an honest opinion, I do feel our water is safe. I never drank it to begin with because it was terrible anyway. Now I have I had to throw all my furniture away, right, because of all of this. It just permeated. There was no saving it. And now my couch is pallets of water. We turned it into a couch from all the water that people have donated.
It's effective.
So you use what you have, right? So I have a pallet of water couch in the, so as far as drinking water, and we got one of those big 5-gallon dispensers, the big blue jugs you see in offices and stuff. We got one of those to cook with, to use that as cooking water and stuff. But it still doesn't feel safe. Mentally, that the water is probably safe, right, because we're on city water and everything, but it does not feel safe. Nothing feels safe anymore. The town doesn't feel safe. And as far as just the vibe of the town, right, which is kind of a weird thing to even talk about, but it is so different now, because you can't walk down the street without either listen, I was at my shop for 2 hours today, right? We were just cleaning and kind of going over paperwork and trying to figure out what we're going to do, right? Are we going to reopen? What are we doing? In the 2 hours that I was there, I had 2 different lawyers knock on my door trying to solicit us.
Of course. That would be the first thing, because there's going to be a lot of lawsuits from this.
Oh my gosh, right? So not only can you not scroll through Facebook without seeing were you affected by the East Palestine trail derailment? And then there's people in our actual local pages like trying to solicit us now. But you can't even be in your own stores or homes without lawyers knocking on your door. And then you compound that with there's news crews, like all down the street. Like you can't see anything except like news like cars, right? Because, you know, they got the big signs on the side of their cars and stuff. There's cameras everywhere. So you can't even go to the grocery store without seeing like 12 setups for reporters. And then people still like, can we just talk to you for a couple seconds? Like, what's your opinion on that? No, thank you. I'm just trying to go get some bread.
Right.
Which, you know, if I knew what they were getting, because like I got bombarded a few times and I had no idea what they were even talking about, and it was like all political, and I'm like, listen, you don't want me to start going there, so like this is not the conversation you want to have with me because you won't be able to air it.
Well, it shouldn't be a political thing whatsoever.
No, it shouldn't. Like, listen, when I see comments like, well, you voted for Trump, so this is what you deserve. How do you know how all of us voted? How do you know?
Well,
like,
well, I wanna touch that. You also have to think John Fetterman. All right, I'm more of a political person. Ashely's cultural, but you also have to think John Fetterman. This dude went to the hospital for another stroke. They're trying to say it's depression. No, he had another stroke. We all sounded that alarm. There was no getting away from that, but yet you still voted him in, and then you're questioning why because of his health. Come on.
yeah.
It's the same
Well,
thing,
I just think it's absolutely disgusting to act as if any of you deserve this, just based on
Right.
any type of like who you voted for or your personal, you know, views
Right.
and opinions, and like none of that matters, and it's absolutely abhorrent in my opinion for anyone to suggest
Well,
that.
and you
honestly,
have to.
I don't even hold on. I'm sorry. Honestly, I don't even care if you voted for Biden or anything. The fact that you're still going through this is very, very disgusting, especially
Right.
with the response that you've had and everything like that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's just taking it to a political standpoint for this
Right.
reason is just it's all
Right.
this what about Trumpism kind of thing, and it's disgusting.
Yeah. And not to compare like what we're going through with like 9/11, right? Because people genuinely lost their lives. Now this is like, we may lose lives too, but it's going to be more of a slow burn, right? And
Right.
not to compare the tragedy of that, but like everyone came together. It didn't matter if you were Democrat or Republican at that point. You got help. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone came together, and it wasn't a question of like, oh, you should have done that, you should have done that. But for people to literally say that we deserved it because we're red, you know, like the town might be red, but there's other people here too, and
People are too
people like
they're
that just disgusted.
Yeah, they're just too blinded by the division and by the like.
Right.
I that's the last thing that I ever thought about was how did this town vote? What way did
How
they,
did they
you know,
vote? Did they vote for me? Because I'm not going to visit if they didn't vote for me.
like?
I mean, that's
Well,
what Biden did to y'all, though. I mean, he took $500
Yeah.
million to Ukraine instead of saying hi to you. So
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm going to take it political since they want to do it, but we'll get back on.
It really is. It really is. You know, just thumb your nose to all of us. So, I don't know. Maybe he's scared to come, but you know, like I said, the vibe right here in town. I've lived here for like 8 years, right? I've never heard people fight in the streets. I've never heard any sort of craziness here. Like, you don't see stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
Like, things like that don't happen. And just in the past 2 days, I took videos because, you know, like I'm TMZ here, right? Yeah, like this. I have videos of 2 separate incidents, 2 days, of people literally screaming at each other in the streets. One guy like got out of his car and was like threatening to like beat the other guy up, and they were in line for help, like for the supply drives and stuff. You can't even wait in line to get supply help without beating each other up. I've never witnessed it before, and it just kind of goes to show how hair triggered everybody is right now, because everybody is, you know, when you know you're being lied to, when you know you're not getting help, you're just, you know, trying to be swept under the rug. It just creates this powder keg, and I feel like it's not going to take much more for people to really start getting drastic. I mean, there's already been calls for like people to park on the railroad so that the trains can't get through until we get some real help and stuff like that, which doesn't solve anything really. You know, it's just getting them in trouble. But
That's
Yeah,
going to
that's
endanger a lot of
that's
people.
that's
Exactly.
They
dangerous,
can't,
right? Like,
yeah, they can't
let's
just
have
stop
another,
once they get
yeah,
going.
let's have another derailment, right? But
Yeah.
it's getting to that point where people are starting to agree with that and start to, you know, do things like that. So
And I can understand that. But awake and praying, I know this is kind of going to be a little bit of a derail here at this. I'm sorry, that's bad choice of words for that.
that's a bad choice. Bad choice.
It's going to be a little bit off
Too soon.
topic, and I want to get your take on this as well, because I've heard about this and I haven't really looked into the situation. But awake and praying says any word on the My ID bans or whatever that were issued a week before. What is that
Right.
about?
So we didn't hear about it until after this started, because like I'm not really I don't watch the news regularly, you know what I mean? Like and they hadn't been announced, like I hadn't seen anything in the doctor's office or anything like that. From what I understand, from the news articles that I did see afterwards, the My ID bans were supposed to be easy fobs. You could keep them on your watch. You could they had like the keychains or something, but basically it was a scannable code that linked directly to your medical records, right? I don't know if it was records, it was like everything, like, you know, just wholly accessible, or if it was things just like, you know how people who are like severely allergic to penicillin or something, some of these were like those bans, that red alert bans, right?
Yeah,
So
like
that you would know.
imperative medical information.
Right.
in the event
So
something
like
happens
if you had seizures or something like that,
Mhm.
right?
Kind of like one of those life alert bracelet kind of things.
Right, kind of. Well, I don't think it alerts anything, but it told you, right? So I
Right.
don't
Well,
know.
the
Yeah.
armband saying
So
I'm
yeah, so
allergic
like
to
if you,
penicillin or something.
yeah, exactly. If you passed out in the middle of the grocery store, like they could
Right.
scan that and see your medical history. So I don't know exactly what it would scan. I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's your entire medical history or anything, or if it's just like you could set information, like whatever information you wanted to set up, just like your blood type and if you're allergic to something, or you know, whatever.
Well, that's something for me to look into more, but
yeah, but I do
go ahead and get back.
it was real. It's a legitimate thing, because it was our fire chief that was on the news doing it. So it just
Okay.
hadn't had time to roll out. So that's not conjecture or anything. That is a very real thing that was happening. But like I said, I don't know anyone that has them. Doctor never said anything to her, you know, so I'm not sure exactly like the exact details of it.
Okay, so I do want to admit the from your story, like I told you last time, you know, the the evacuation as soon as this happened, I mean, spot on to you guys for really getting to it as fast as you did. I mean, within hours, it was kind of like all Hades breaks loose and y'all are out. Usually, these kinds of things, you have an up to 24-hour window for evacuation for people, and the fact that you guys reacted so quickly, I'm gonna say go ahead and say it did help a lot of people. But there is one thing I do want to get into as far as this goes. Now we have seen videos and reports and a lot of, especially independent creators, talking about your town hall meetings and things like that. How has that been going for you guys in that situation?
So like the regular town hall meetings, or like the
ones about the accident.
The ones about that. Okay. So those pretty much stopped once the governor was here. So like those were the last meetings that we had officially. after everything happened. So like when the governor came and said everything went great, you're safe to go home, hurrah, hurrah. There was one more after that, a few days after, that had the head of the EPA, the governor, and our local people here. And that's it. The only people that have done any meetings now is starting 3 days ago. The EPA, the Ohio, I can't remember their acronyms, but it's like health department, basic, kind of like the Ohio Health Department.
Right.
And the CDC spokesperson are doing them every day at 4:00. And I feel like it's an attempt to like make everyone feel calm because everyone's freaking out. But when they lie to your face in every meeting and refuse to take or answer real questions, it doesn't make you feel better. It just makes everyone more angry. Yeah. So it's actually doing the opposite of what it's intending to do. It's just making everybody more pissed off and more pissed off. It's not calming anyone down. So, you know,
has anybody started talking about potentially just leaving the town and move, like,
yes.
and people moving away?
Yes. So the people that could did. The people that had the financial means are gone.
Okay.
The problem is that our town, median income in our town is about $50,000, right?
Mhm.
And that's
Dual income.
pretty, yes, dual income, about $50,000. That's paycheck to paycheck around here. You know what I mean? Like that's, and there's the majority of people that I know are quite lower in that bracket. I'm actually right around that for my household, you know, so, and I have a business here. So it's not really a rich town. I would say at least 60% of the people that live here are born and bred, probably have grandparents that were born and bred here. So this is the only place that most people even know, right? So like these houses are passed down from generation to generation. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Also a problem that we have here that I've run into personally is the housing market is like null. It's gone. There's no houses to even rent. I have looked in like a 200-mile radius, and there's like hardly anything available that's either affordable. I mean, like under $2,000 a month, right? And that's like for like a 2-bedroom, which is not really achievable on a $50,000 a year income. Especially when they want proof that you make 3 times your blah blah blah. I also have pets, so pets are really hard to rent with and stuff. And then just financially, like, how can you afford to move? And we don't have family anywhere else, right? So it's not like I can go call Aunt Bessie in Louisiana to like go hang out with her for a while. My son has school.
Right.
I have a whole business here. What am I doing with that business? I can't just like skip town, even though we want to. Like that's kind of the goal. Like living where we live, like on the creek with it coming into the, like, it's not safe here. Like we're sick. Like
right.
even my dog, like his eyes are so bloodshot. It looks like he's been like doing stuff he probably shouldn't be doing. Like it's just, he's like zooted all the time. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like that's not something that you want. And I have, my kids here, and it's just like people want
your
to
options
leave.
are but options are limited.
Yes, I think if there was some sort of government entity that said, listen, we will finance a move if you want to move, I think it would be a ghost town. I really do. I think there would be about 20 boomers left in town and everyone else would hit the road.
Well, I mean, with something like that, though, I can understand that, because with everything that's happening, property damage in that is it's a
Right.
complete loss for the entire town.
Right. It
The
is.
houses are not going to be able to be sold because,
Mm-mm.
well, the hydrogen chloride is going to eat everything away. You're just going to have to knock it down and rebuild, and you guys can't be doing that, you know.
From
So
from my friends that do own homes, they have, like have wanted to move, right? So they've tried calling real estate agencies and stuff saying, I want to list my house. I want to be done. And no one will even take the listing.
Yeah,
They won't
nobody's
even take the listing because no one's going to
gonna
buy
be
it.
able to sell.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I mean, Charles Manson's house keeps selling, but you guys won't, you know.
right. No,
So
we're screwed. So I feel very fortunate that I'm a renter here, but at the same time, like that doesn't help me either, because
Yeah.
right.
like even when we were trying to get the house cleaned, right? So like they were supposedly offering like cleaning services, which we later found out was not true. Their cleaning services are literally the chemical that they were spraying during COVID in hospital rooms. So like a fogger of like
Mhm.
Right.
some sort of thing. That was their cleaning,
Isopropyl alcohol.
which doesn't help anything
No.
whatsoever. Yeah, like if
Hydrogen
germs were the
peroxide would have been
problem,
better.
right? If germs were the issue, but no, it's all this smoke damage and ashes that are in our house, and then chemical residue everywhere. So, anyway, when we were on the phone, when we were staying in the hotel, constantly on the phone, trying to, they're just beating around the bush with everything. They told us because we don't own the property that they're not even going to speak to us, even though we rent here. And then my landlord would call and they'd say, well, because you're not the tenant, we're not going to do anything for you. So it's just like this constant BS runaround circle of non-answer. And so I think that's, hit the frustration level. I don't know if you saw a few days ago, Biden made the announcement that he was sending the CDC around to knock on every door. Really, it was like his quote. We're going to knock on every door and we're going to answer questions for people that have it and yada, yada. You know what it was?
What?
It was the same 3 pieces of paper that they sent last time. Only this time they were in color. So we stepped up.
Whoa.
It wasn't just black and white Xerox. They were in color this time. So yeah, if you remember me, the help packet that I was talking about on the last podcast, that was
the shiny
just
thing.
repeated. It was just repeated. And they did not knock on the door. We actually saw them running house to house, stuffing them in mailboxes. Like, what are you so scared of? You can't even talk to us. So that was Biden's knock on the door initiative, was 3 color pieces of paper.
What a joke. What an absolute joke.
Again,
that this,
don't need to de-stress, but thank you for the opportunity to learn how to do that. Yeah. It's all just mental health. So yeah.
It's I can't imagine how frustrated and just like you have a right to be angry about all of this.
Yes.
They're not doing things the correct way. They're not playing it straight. They should be completely transparent. They should have been telling you as soon as they got information. And I understand they don't want to panic people, but they also have to treat this with seriousness and make sure that everybody is as informed as you possibly can be. And the people, like you said, like at least give you help, make sure everybody's,
something our like I had mentioned before, they at the governor's meeting, they were talking about like they were going to be issuing safe home protocols, right? So we're thinking, okay, great, we're going to know how to clean the house, we're going to know what we need to what we're going to need to do to make the home safe, right? So we're thinking it's going to be a lot of what we've already done research on, right? So we had seen that there was like you need air purifiers that have like the activated carbon and charcoal and stuff like that, like to actually catch the VOCs, right? Because that's what we were told that we were supposed to be looking for. The dioxins hadn't even been mentioned at this point. So we were just worried about VOCs because that's what they were checking for when they were doing those air tests, when the people were coming into your houses for your air quality check. That was what they were looking for, VOCs. We're like, okay, VOCs is a problem. That's what we need to look for. So we're like trying to get air purifiers, and I put like carbon filters above all of my registers in the house and stuff, thinking that, you know, getting the air filters that are like VOC trappers and stuff like that. There was none of that. There was no information given. It was literally just what roads to use to come home on, because certain roads were still closed.
It's pretty frustrating.
That's horrible. Ashely, I'm gonna highlight this.
No
real
real help with it.
I'm gonna highlight this real quick.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
DBZ.
let's we need to address some steward chats if we have any more too.
Yes. Thank you for that as well. It says, "Hey, Kat, I feel for you. My family born and bred in Southern Ohio for over 100 years. I understand the tie to your land and roots and not having the money to relocate. Here's a small donation. I don't have much, but I hope you and your family can find a home again." 100. Appreciate it. I really do.
That's huge. That's huge for us, right? Because like, nightmare. We're still nightmare, right?
Thank you very much for that. Thank you so much. And thank you guys all for just being here and listening to Kat's story and just her experience going through this. I think it's really important that we highlight all the voices that we can actually coming out of this area and figure out what they're actually going through rather than just, you know, the telephone game of what the media has been doing. So
yeah.
And then can we plug you have a fundraiser going for the is it for just the whole town? Is it just for, you know, what's the fundraiser?
The one that we have is my family. So that's the one that I have the link to. There have been ones for the town. Let me tell you a little story about that. There was a woman who started a GoFundMe that said, this is like a whole town GoFundMe for the people who need to relocate. It is immediate help for those people, like air purifiers for those that don't want to go, and then helping relocate for others. And it was over $60,000 at last check. So then they got the money and they donated it to a foundation here. I'm not going to say the name because like it's awful what they did. They get the check. People are asking questions. Okay, like, how are you going to help us? Like, we need to get out of here, even if it's for like a week in a hotel, just so we can like try and get some clearage from, you know, like what's going on in our homes. And they're like, yeah, well, no, we're not going to use it for that. We do community help. So we're going to have a board meeting at some point after this is over and decide like how we're going to use this money. So everyone got screwed. Everyone got screwed. So now everyone's terrified of these, you know, Help East Palestine kind of GoFundMe's, because we just got screwed out of over $60,000. And for what I understand, they're planning a splash pad at the park for the kids when this is over, which is what we need right now with our toxic water not being able to be outside, right off the creek splash pad.
Yeah, let's just exacerbate the issue.
Wow.
Yeah. So that has made a lot of people angry today.
This gives me like this whole thing gives me Erin Brockovich vibes, like so strongly. Yeah. Like it's just like
we actually had a meeting with her a couple days ago when she was here in town. That she's gonna send her specialist out here to check our house, some sort of canister that like sucks the air in for like 8 hours in our basement to see if they can get some readings and stuff. So
Well, if you have
Just
her on your
crazy.
side, like I feel like she is a good
Right.
person to have involved.
She's
in
definitely
this.
vocal. The town hall that she had was actually really amazing here. And I think it kind of woke a lot of people up that thought everything was fine, because she did talk about the dioxins and stuff like that. She had a lot of specialists do like PowerPoints and stuff like that were really honest and no BS. And I think it kind of scared a lot of people straight a little bit, going,
Yeah.
oh, so you're saying that there's something maybe wrong with us being sick now?
Yeah.
So I think overall it was a good thing that she came to, what I mean, like anything that brings notice to us, like even if it's just you talking with your neighbor, that's like one more person that knows what's going on here. And it's still just horrific.
Right. All right.
So,
Sean's eye view.
Right.
He's going a little bit chemical here, a little nerding out. I can't honestly say what the situation would be, but one chloro, one polyethylene. It's and a few others. They are more dense in water. Yes.
yes.
As a matter of fact, we touched on this a little bit earlier. I'll show it one more time here for you guys. The butyl acrylate, there was one train of that. It did have a head breach, lost entire load to spill and fire. Most of it did spill out before they even caught it on fire. So butyl acrylate is in the water supply. But yeah.
Oh, goody.
Also,
Well,
we have another way for you guys to help out, and then that you get something in return as well. Flagrant Triggers has created a little bit of a merch to help out. All the proceeds go to East Palestine, Ohio. This comes from the Anchorman movie, where, the whole scene where he's reading from the prompter and he says, "Go F yourself, San Diego." They Photoshop Pete Buttigieg's face on it. I'll go ahead and link that to you guys as well if you want to go ahead and get that. I've actually already ordered one myself.
I just gotta say, guys, if you don't understand the reference here, like we cannot be friends, any of you.
Totally can't be friends. If you don't know that movie, we totally can't be friends.
Go watch it if you've never seen it. I swear. Like I know there's like some young guns I think who watch me. So, but yeah, no. If you guys want to go just donate to Kat directly and help her out, go ahead and do that. Is all that stuff linked in the description? Or can you drop it in the comments?
You'll have to edit it. It's dropped in the comments. I'll give you the links and everything. I didn't have these links till right before the show, so
okay, I gotcha.
I'll send them to you. So
we're learning. It's a learning experience.
Get yours.
It's fine.
I'll put it in mine as well. But yeah. Okay. Actually, Sean's eye view. I'm a little bit nerdy too with these chemical kind of things. If you want to actually do a little bit of collab, I've done a little bit of deep dive on these chemical sheets and everything as well. My email is on my page there. It's voiceofthepeople@VOTP. Hit me up. We'll definitely get into some talks with that as well. But I mean, do you have anything else, Ashely?
No, I mean, I did. I saw somebody say that they were watching us instead of the quartering or Timcast, and like,
right,
you a real one. Thank you. Like,
I was impressed with that. Yes,
like we watch. I know Drunken and I both we watch them all the time. So I mean, maybe not Timcast anymore for you. I don't know how salty you feel about Timcast anymore, but
I still watch the IRL, but everything else just now.
Yeah,
I don't definitely give him any more money because you spat in my face with it.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. Jeremy's a bit nicer when it comes to that kind of stuff, I'll say. But anyway, but thank you guys, for being here. And then Kat, is there any other anything else that you feel like needs to be mentioned? Maybe that you're seeing like misinformation going around in the media, or just anything you want brought more awareness to?
Mostly it's just like when everyone says that everything's fine here, we're perfectly safe. We're not, there's very real reactions happening. And there's very real health consequences, maybe not even the ones that are happening now, but the carcinogenic compounds that are in there, because a lot of us have children here. A lot of us have children, and you know, where the unknown, I think, is kind of the scariest part of like what's going on right now. Just, like, are we killing our children by even staying here? Like what have we exposed them to that's going to come down the road? Because like a lot of people are saying that this is kind of similar to like Agent Orange and stuff, and those weren't known until then, and then 9/11, it wasn't known until later. So like, is that kind of where we're headed? And are we ever going to get those answers?
Yeah, and it's much, much scarier, as a parent, where you're like, okay, well, I have, so long left of my, lifespan left. But when you think about your kids, like they have their entire lives ahead of them. So it's like, certain people, like, I don't know, I feel like older people are less concerned about their long-term side effects, obviously, in comparison to children, because they have a much longer time that they're going to have to deal with all of these, and who knows what's going to happen, 10, 20, 30 years down the line. So I think those are very real fears. And I think that they need, the response to this has been highly disappointing. But it, hopefully with more people like you kind of speaking out about this, we can get more eyes on the situation and
because
get you guys help.
Seems like nothing gets done until we're the squeakiest wheel, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
the more people that are making a fuss about it is only for good, so
yeah.
Hey, Riff did bring up a good point. I want to touch on this. Where does the town's water supply come from? Do you know?
Yeah, it's actually 5 different wells in like a sump area, but I understand that they're pretty deep. And like I said, they're on the opposite side of town, about a mile off. So the way the different, like, so we have Sulphur Run or Sulphur Creek that runs into Leslie Run or whatever, and then that runs into the Ohio River. It's northern, so upstream from the contamination. So I feel like that's why we're fairly safe with town water. Now, one thing that some of us are concerned about, and I know that it's like supposed to be like pressurized patching, right? But the pipes in this town are so old that there's water breakages constantly. Like they have a whole page for boil orders, right? For like the different breakages. So if there's breakages and when those are, it's like in contaminated dirt, and then they like, what does that then like spoil the entire pipeline after that point? Or, you know what I mean? Like there's just so many questions that nobody is giving a straight answer to. And I understand like the theory between, like the pressurized patching and stuff like that, where like nothing is supposed to get in, but then why are we always on boil orders after the breakages and stuff like that? So that's kind of scary, not so much like from where our source is, but from other areas. So, that's something that's a bit concerning to a lot of us. And then there are people right outside of town that have wells, which will have an issue eventually. I mean, it takes years for it to migrate into the water system, but it will happen. It will happen.
Shizzle says, so what about the environmental science department at Cincinnati University? I read the latest release, and I guess it's supposed to be, it says air parts per million. I was going to say minute, but parts per million are acceptable range according to the CDC.
Right.
I actually have something on that. This comes from October 10th, which is not long after they were telling you guys, it's not long. Yeah, it was a few days after they were telling you to get back. Let me see if I have that real quick still.
I think also the issue is that what they're testing for is not what the danger is. Because they're just flatline testing for VOCs. They're not testing for any specific chemical or anything.
Yeah, they're only testing for vinyl chloride. But They straight up lied to you guys.
Yeah.
That's well within toxic range still.
Right. They said any exposure is
Comes from October 10th,
carcinogenic.
and they were testing for looks like about 3 hours from this list, and this comes from somewhere that was like 5 miles away from the actual accident, and
Yes.
still on October 10th, it was still within toxic ranges.
Yes.
So they straight up lied to you guys about returning and it being safe.
Correct. Like, and that's some of the things that there are some lawyers that I feel like are, I mean, obviously every lawyer out here is out to make money, right? But there are some of them that are actually going about it in a way to actually make the truth known, right? So they have hired all of these outside toxicologists, all of these outside like water testers that are actually just out in our creeks with their waders on, you know, like digging at the bottom of the soil and collecting these dead animals and things like that, to actually prove of what they're doing, you know, prove that they're poisoning us and prove that they're lying to us and stuff. So those results take time. You know, they're just here starting the collections, and so I mean they've been here for a little while, but like, you know,
Yeah.
finishing up the collecting and stuff like that. Results like that take time. I've heard that it takes about 2 weeks standard for those results to get back. So hopefully within the next 2 weeks we're going to be able to drop some bombs on everyone that's telling us it's in our head. But
Yeah.
Midwest
until
Troublemaker
then, we're
has
just
a
kind
good
of
question as well here.
Yeah.
Did they actually pull all the water from the local stores? Or was that just some
okay. So
random stuff you heard?
some water was pulled. There's a brand here that's actually bottled in Columbiana County. Is it Giant Eagle brand? I'm not sure. You know, there's so much going on right now. I'm at like half capacity as it is, right? So there's a certain local brand that is bottled here in Columbiana County, which is like our county and surrounding. And they did pull that water. I'm not sure if the reason for pulling it has been known or if they just were just doing it out of an abundance of caution or what. But yes, it was pulled from like the local grocery stores and stuff, because it was bottled here in the county.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I would assume at the very least it's just an abundance of caution, because
right.
like if they, you know, give people contaminated water, they're going to
Then
be
guess who
in
they're getting
some
sued
hot
next,
water.
you know? So
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I
that
imagine
makes
it was an abundance of caution situation, but it was because it was bottled here in the
Yeah.
county. I'm not
It's
sure
still quite
exactly where,
alarming,
but
you know. It still kind of puts
yeah.
you off kilter, like, like, okay.
Yeah, it does. So
Yeah. All right. Well, you know, just again, like, thank you so much for coming on here and talking to us, and just you know, everybody watching, or if you're watching the replay, I'll go ahead and, you know, after the live is done, and add all the links into my description, make sure everyone can find you. You know, are you on social media? Do you want to like plug your
I am sure.
social
Like,
media pages?
it's just Kat Smith is just my Facebook. I do have a lot of public posts from like on the ground situations, pictures that I've taken here, and links from like our local news that might have a little more information than what you're finding otherwise. Welcome to look there. I have a TikTok, but there's like 4 videos. It's just the derailment situation, so it's not really
Right.
anything
Shout out to Third
that
Eyes.
exciting. Yeah, no, nothing. I'm not really, you know, mostly it's just to keep in touch with my friends mostly. So I'm not really
Yeah.
you know, a social media type thing, but you know, I've kind of gotten thrust into the the mix of it. So, but you know, you do your part, right? Like you can't just expect things to change and not do anything about it. So,
Yeah,
gotta
and
Alright.
you know
do what you can.
and that's
ahead.
awesome of you to do that.
Very well. I thank you guys for even, you know, having a show about this or anything, you know, just talking about it. I think is some people haven't even heard any, like there's some woman was in town and we were talking, and she was like, I didn't even know that anything happened here. And I'm like, where are you from? Like, and she's like, oh, it was like 30 minutes away. And I'm like, how do you not know what
what rock are you living under that you haven't heard about this?
Like, even boomers watch news, ma'am. Like, what? Look up. So,
well,
I mean,
we do
it's
appreciate
just so
your time.
random.
We do appreciate your time and the fact that you can sit down and say these things and be open with it. Definitely letting us know from a bird's eye view, well, not a bird's eye view, but on the ground, exactly what's going on there. Yeah, I'm still in touch with other people to kind of get your voice heard a little bit further on than what we can do ourselves. Um, that information has been passed. If they get back to me, just kind of what I did with reaching out to you. I've asked them just, hey, send me what area code to expect a call or a text from,
Right.
and I will let you know myself that these are the numbers to look out for, something in that range.
Sure.
But yeah,
Like
we're
I
trying to
said,
get you out there.
I appreciate it. Yeah, because I know a lot of my friends have been doing a lot of news interviews and they're so burnt out, because you're saying the same thing and it's just,
over and over. Yeah. I'm
it's
sure
just
it's really
really
rough.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I'm
disheartening.
progressively like getting sicker somehow during this.
Oh no, you're breathing my air. Stop it.
No, I started out fine, and then like it's just been going downhill.
It's getting further the time for you to relax now that the kids are down too. But before we go, should we go ahead and plug a little upcoming project now? Let them know what's coming, or shall we wait on that?
Yeah, let's do it. It'll put more pressure on me to get going.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have created the channels. We're not going to kind of give any kind of information because we still have yet to fill them with like logos and things like that. But me and Ashely are going to be starting our own little podcast talk. It's going to be a weekly thing. She's more cultural, like I said at the beginning. I'm more political, so it's going to be like a kind of weekend wrap up kind of situation, just to go over major points. I know a lot of you in the comments section were saying that you like Salty because he's a little bit mean. I'm the same way, but yeah. I don't play nice. I don't pull punches with people and things like that. It's gotten to a point to where being nice has gotten us to this point. But yeah, we will be starting that up very soon. More information will be rolling out the more we get this populated. But work schedules for the both of us, home life for her. She's got twins, so that's a little bit difficult to work around. But yeah, it's we will be rolling that out. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and the more this goes, we do have plans to actually get the audience involved a little bit more as well with that. But more information will come for that as well. We will definitely keep you guys in the loop on that, and hope to see y'all when it starts.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. So hopefully we'll roll that out pretty soon here. But like you said, we're just in the planning stages, and sounds like a date. Yeah, and like I have a job too, so it's just I actually was out of power for like 4 days, 4-ish days, something like that. So I'm behind right now, or else we'd probably already have plans for the first episode. But stay tuned, and if you're watching on my channel, go over and subscribe to Voice of the People, which like I don't know why, man, I can never find like your actual channel when I search it. I have to like go to channels in the filters, and then I still have trouble. So
that's because I'm heavily shadow banned. I got a warning for pointing out where the Pfizer data dump came from. I recently got a strike on the channel for pointing out some other naughty things on YouTube. The live is still there, but the little snippet I had to just wrap it all together, it got 1 view within 15 minutes and immediately taken down. So they're watching me. So yes. It's still live on Rumble. Everything's still there on Rumble as well. Shout out to Rumble for at least letting people talk. But I came across some things. I wouldn't say they're nefarious with it, but it's more of a certain situation that explains what we've been seeing with the jab. Is the best way I can put it. But
Jab, jab.
if y'all want to check that out, Rumble is rumble.com/C. I'll actually link it here.
Yeah, just like drop it in chat. Go follow him. I think you guys will like him.
Granted,
I do. I mean,
like I said, heads up. I'm an a-hole. I'm not going to be anything
Nice.
different. All right.
I'm much
not going
nicer.
to play nice.
Okay. People say crap about me. I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway. Alrighty. Well, once again, I feel like I just keep thanking you, but I just really appreciate it. And it's always your fault, Midwest. What are you talking about?
Yes.
Oh,
Midwest is a good friend of ours as well. He's much more of a clown than we are, but he's great.
yeah.
Yes, that is. I did call you a clown, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm
go
gonna be
ahead and
over
wrap
there,
this up
in a
here.
couple weeks too on his channel. So
Oh,
yeah.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up here so you can get to bed, Ashely.
Yeah, I need to get off.
Once again, though, Kat, we really appreciate you. Like I said, I am trying to still reach out and get somebody much more than we can do for you, to at least get more and more people to know exactly what's happening on the ground for you. And I will keep you in contact with that as well. But other than that, I wish I could say I wish you luck, but it seems like y'all are going to be in problem y'all are going to be pretty much hurting for a long time here.
Yeah.
So for those that are religious, thoughts and prayers to you. And for those that aren't, we're thinking of you. But
Well, we
anything else,
appreciate
Ashely?
No, that's it, guys. Just make sure if you want to go help support them, go over to some of those fundraisers or buy a t-shirt. Do anything you can, everything you can, and if you can't help out any type of financially, which totally understand that, just send them some good vibes their way.
All right. Anything else you got, Kat?
That's it.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here, and we will see you guys soon.
Take it easy, everybody. We'll be back soon.